Hi, we're running accessibility checks to make sure that our clients' websites are staying compliant with the accessibility guidelines. I think I sent an email before. I think you should have received it about staying compliant. Although GP surgeries are obviously private businesses, they are considered part of the public body, the NHS, and therefore they have to comply closely with accessibility guidelines. And what I noticed when I was looking at the Steyning Health Centre website, doing this for a number of our clients, was that excuse me, there were some accessibility issues that weren't being complied with, some with responsive design, making sure that it works on mobile phone screens correctly, and some with just basic sort of styling and formatting. So I was just going to run through those for you quickly. They were covered in the training videos that I'd sent links through before, but I appreciate you might not have had time to watch those all. So when I look at the home page, immediately I can see some issues. Let's go through those. One of which is that these images that you're putting in have not been put in styled responsively, so they won't shrink down with a mobile phone screen. So if I try and get this to emulate a mobile phone screen, by bringing it down, you can see all the main images that we've put in, they shrink down. This one here about the quitting smoking won't. Can you see it's actually, if I keep shrinking this down, it breaks out of the, oh, I've gone too far now. It doesn't break down because it hasn't been made responsive. That's one issue, which we'll try and cover for you. Another one is it's got no alternative description. So all images that are put up on the site should have an ALT, short for alternative, description on them. And this image here and in the pop-up certainly haven't. I don't know if any other images that you've popped up haven't. Both of those are fails on accessibility, as is this here. Headlines should not be underlined. That's an immediate fail on accessibility guidelines, because people expect anything that's underlined to be a link, so this shouldn't be underlined. And then on a styling front, I don't know if you're just not happy about the amount of spacing that is automatically applied between sort of headlines and paragraphs, but I noticed there's a lot of sort of double, triple spacing. There's some dots being put in here, sort of double spacing here, whereas it would work better actually if this was just single spaced, or if it was put into an ordered list or an unordered list using the list option. So I'm going to cover those issues for you quickly by going into the content management system. So this is actually the pop-up screen that comes up, the alert screen. Again, there's double spacing here. I'm just not sure why, so I'm just going to remove that double spacing. If you want these spaces to increase, let us know, and we will increase. I mean, it is a little bit small perhaps, so we can increase automatically the amount of space that appears between headings and paragraph text, so that there's more space above and below, so it doesn't look quite so close together if you're not happy with that. Also, like this double spacing here, right, I would remove this. I'm just going in here and doing this. Actually no, this isn't the pop-up, is it? Yes it is. So there's a lot of information here, and it's just making it very unwieldy. You should really put some sort of headline in here rather than separate it out. But again, let's remove this double spacing. I'm just going to pause this video actually while I do that. Right, I've just paused the video so it doesn't take time. So now you can see, look, update on the COVID vaccination program. I understand why you'd want more spacing here. I'll just put one in there for you. This should not be underlined. Really shouldn't be, because people expect it to be a link. So there should be a way for me to remove that. Hang on one second. Right, so I've selected that text, and from this A drop down I need to remove the underline. Make it bold or apply a headline to make it stand out, but don't underline things. It's just an immediate fail on, and you can actually face fines for breaking disability and accessibility guidelines. And then this is probably best off as, let's say, a list, a bulleted list or a numbered list. So if you go to a bulleted list, you could make that a paragraph, and then that would increase the spacing on them. Then that looks better. And here it says, in terms of any planned appointments with insert name of GP practice, it just hasn't been put in, Steyning medical practice, I guess. And again, I would probably make that a bulleted list, and then again I would apply the paragraph format to it to just increase some spacing. Now I will go in and add some code to make these spaces above and below, sort of above the headlines bigger, so that it spaces them out better without having to double click them. But I'm not quite sure what the dotted lines are there rather than sort of some headline or something. But the other thing is this, so don't underline anything unless you know a link which automatically underlines it is the alt tag. So if I click on the image, right, it should have a description, and that's for people who are visually impaired that use screen readers, the blind and the visually impaired. So quit smoking in 2022 to improve health, or something along those lines. I'm not sure that could obviously also could have had a link in it to go somewhere. But the other thing about why this is not acting responsively is it's had the width and the height left in, and they need to be stripped out. So the width and the height actually need to be stripped out. And then it needs to have a style called responsive image applied to the actual image. That will make the image shrink down with the browser size. If I then publish that, just pause this while that publishes, that will then be a responsive image. I'm then going to go also to the home page, because it's pretty much the same there. Something else about the home page just to say as well is there is a practice news page here which you've got some stuff in, and again it's got the same kind of formatting in it. But on the home page is very, very long now because of all the news articles that are at the bottom of that page. So they're kind of appearing both in the pop-up on the news section at the bottom and on the news section, which is, I would keep this, I mean it's your website, I appreciate, but you don't want it to become too unwieldy, so I would keep this sort of 2 or 3 latest news updates, and for older news send them across to see the rest of the, you know, the bit. I would copy and paste this into the news page so you haven't got too much in here, because there's a lot of scrolling, particularly if you imagine on a mobile phone screen. If I drag that down again, how long the actual home page ends up becoming if you're scrolling down. So I would apply those same changes to the home page as well, but yes, you can add lists to tidy that up. I will increase the spacing around the headlines, because obviously it's I'm assuming you're being double spacing because you're not happy with the amount of spacing that's there. But yeah, all this double spacing is just making the page even longer. But yeah, so remember to add that responsive class as we just did on the image, to not underline anything unless it's a headline, because that's a foul on accessibility, and the practice could, as I say, face fines from governing bodies for not being compliant with accessibility guidelines, and to make sure that they have any image that gets added has an alternative tag on it. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I'm pretty sure if I give you links back to the original training videos as well, it was in there. Maybe you didn't have a chance to look through all of those. Okay, and then one thing I meant to just append this video with was to then show you what I was saying about the responsive image. If you remember before, that was breaking, wasn't shrinking down, because we applied that responsive image class. It will do what these other images do and shrink down so that it doesn't go outside of the boundary and fits in. So if I scroll all the way down to there, you can now see that that image size shrinks with the screen to its maximum size, so it won't go wider. So that was by applying that responsive image class and by stripping out the actual dimensions